At 50, life can suddenly feel slower and heavier. When I was younger, even the hard days felt like they were leading somewhere bright. The world felt like it was on my side. But now, things feel different. With age comes change, comes failure, comes reality. And through all of it, I've learned truths I couldn't have seen back then. What you're about to hear are the stories I've lived, the quiet lessons that only time can teach. If you've ever felt the same way, if you're standing in that space between what was and what comes next, then walk with me. Let's face this season of life together. 1. Working hard doesn't always come with a reward. We're taught this as kids. If you work hard, someday someone will notice. So you believe it. In school, in your first job, you hold on to that idea. You show up early. You prepare everything perfectly. You say yes to every request from your boss. But by the time you turn 50, you realize how naive that was. What I really learned is this: the people who burn out the fastest are the ones who quietly just get the work done. In the workplace, relationships matter more than results. And appearances matter more than skills. While I was staying late to finish reports, my coworker was out playing golf with the boss. While I was writing proposals, another guy was leaving comments on the boss's Instagram. The result? They got promoted. I stayed where I was. Then one day, the company stopped seeing me as a loyal senior employee and started seeing me as an expensive part of an old generation. You're too rigid. You're not flexible enough. Those were just polite ways of saying I was no longer wanted. That's when it hit me. This system doesn't remember your effort. A company is not your family. They won't thank you just for working hard. To them, you're a replaceable piece. So now, I've changed. I work only during my hours. I skip unnecessary meetings. I don't give loyalty. I do the math. In other words, I take care of myself first. I don't regret working hard. But I know now that effort doesn't guarantee reward. From now on, I manage the results of my life with my own hands. 2. Without money, your relationships start to fade. When you turn 50, money problems aren't just about money anymore. They become a mirror of your relationships. When you're young, hanging out with friends is easy. A beer, a movie, that's all it takes. But over time, things change. Let's grab dinner at that nice place. Wanna join us on the trip? These invitations start revolving around those who can afford it. If you don't have money, you slowly get left out. Can you cover the bill this time? I'll pay. You can pay me back later. These moments build pressure, and that pressure creates distance. Even within family, money begins to eat away at relationships. Who will visit and care for the parents? Who's paying for the house repairs? After 50, those questions become very real. They shape the way we connect. People say money can't buy everything. But without money, you miss out on opportunities, and connections fade. America values independence, but even independence requires resources. The people still around me now? They're either the ones I can lean on, or who can lean on me. Or they're just people who face the same reality and choose to endure it together. The friends who loved you, no matter what, those start to disappear, and in their place, you find people who accept reality and carry the same weight as you. 3. Children are not the reward for the life I've lived. When you hit your 50s, You start seeing your relationship with your kids through a more realistic lens. When they're young, it's easy to believe that your children are the reward for everything you've done, that they are your life's achievement. But over time, that belief begins to change. You raise them with care, but eventually, they live their own lives. Whether they follow your dreams or not, that's their choice. Success or failure, their path is separate from your expectations. Because in American culture, individualism and independence are deeply rooted. Children don't rely on parents forever. And parents don't expect everything from their kids. Mutual respect for each other's lives is the foundation. By the time you're 50, you realize something new. Your children aren't your whole life. They're people with lives of their own. Forcing expectations or sacrificing your life for them only brings pain on both sides. Sometimes, a simple "you turned out well" is more than enough. And yes, you may grow distant from them. That happens too. But distance isn't always a bad thing. Often, it's the space that keeps the relationship healthy. In America, this kind of space is considered normal. Some parents even rediscover themselves through that distance. After 50, the focus shifts, not to your children, but to your own life. How will you finish your story well? Your children may be part of that journey, but they're not the whole story. 4. Lose your health, lose everything. When you reach your 50s, health becomes more than just how your body feels. In America, health is directly tied to your quality of life and independence. Being able to walk comfortably, eat well, sleep through the night, and live without worrying about medical bills. That's a blessing. When I was younger, I pushed through the pain. I ignored the signs. But now, everything feels different. A small ache can ruin my whole day. A minor issue can cancel all my plans. And medical bills? They're a whole new kind of stress. In the U.S., healthcare is expensive. Even with insurance, the gap costs, the prescription prices, they hit hard. Health problems don't just affect you. They hit your family, your job, and your finances. When your health falls apart, everything else starts falling with it. For years, I took my health for granted. But now, I finally see it for what it is. My most valuable asset. That's why I care now. I exercise. I watch what I eat. I go to checkups. I do it so I can keep doing the things I love, so I can spend more time with the people I love. But honestly, taking care of your health isn't always easy. I get tired. I get busy. Sometimes I just want to quit. But I keep going. Because I know, if my health breaks down, everything I've built will start to crumble too. And that's why, even today, I choose to move my body. 5. Life doesn't go the way you want it to. By the time you reach your 50s, you start to feel the gap between expectation and reality. When we're young, we believe, if I work hard, I can have everything I want. But over time, you realize, life doesn't follow your plan. Sometimes it's your health. Sometimes it's your job. Sometimes it's your family. Plans fall apart for reasons you didn't see coming. And even when you give it everything, misfortune can still hit you out of nowhere. In those moments, you feel disappointed, angry, sometimes ready to give up. American culture tells us to take responsibility, to be self-driven, but that idea, it can feel heavy. even when it's not your fault. You're expected to fix the problem yourself. That pressure gets exhausting, but after 50, you learn something different. You don't control everything, you only hold part of the wheel. So now, I don't obsess over the things I can't change. I focus on what I can. I prepare a plan B. I build flexibility. I keep my mind ready for unexpected change. Just because life didn't go the way I wanted doesn't mean it failed. In fact, it's in the mess, the detours, and the surprises that real growth happens. I didn't see that at 20. But now, at 50, I finally do. 6. I often feel like I'm alone. By the time you turn 50, there are moments when you feel completely alone. When you were younger, you had friends around all the time. Family felt close, but over the years, friends get busy with their own lives. Family starts focusing on their own responsibilities. The calls become less frequent. The visits get fewer. Everyone is still busy, but fewer people show up. When you're struggling, and you start to wonder, am I expecting too much? Is this just how it is now? You realize you might have to carry more on your own. Feeling alone isn't the same as being lonely. Sometimes, being alone is peaceful, but other times, when you really want to share your heart, you find there's no one around. After 50, your circle naturally shrinks. That's why, what really matters is keeping a few deep, meaningful connections. And even those take effort to maintain. You have to open up. You have to reach out first. So now, I try to cherish the time I spend alone. I look inward for strength and peace, accepting that feeling of being alone. Maybe that's the first step to preparing for the next chapter of life. 7. Change is scary, but necessary. When you reach 50, you start to notice how often you fear change. The habits you've built, the relationships you've kept, they feel safe, and that safety makes change uncomfortable. Trying something new feels uncertain. It feels heavy, but the world has changed. Your workplace has changed. Technology has changed. People have changed. And if you don't adapt, you fall behind. Change is hard. Change is scary. But without it, there's no real growth. So I try, slowly, in small ways. I start a new hobby. I meet new people. I challenge my old thinking. I've started to see change can be a chance to make life richer. And now, I've come to believe it's okay to fail sometimes. After 50, it's hard to leave your comfort zone. But that one small step can give you strength for everything that lies ahead. 8. Time is the most valuable resource. By the time you turn 50, you realize time is your most precious resource. When I was younger, I thought time was endless. I believed I had plenty of chances and all the time in the world to get things done. But now, I see the truth. Time is shrinking, and how I use it directly shapes the quality of my life. That's why I try not to waste time on things or people that don't matter. I no longer do things just because I should. I focus on what's meaningful to me. Time with family, time for my health, time to rest and recharge. These are now my top priorities. To use time wisely. I've also learned how to say no when someone asks for something that feels too heavy. I remind myself, protecting my time is protecting my life. At 50, you start to feel it deep inside. Time matters more than money, and with less of it ahead, I've become more careful, more intentional about how I spend it. 9. My choices shape my life. By the time you turn 50, you start to see it clearly. Your life is the result of your choices. When I was younger, I blamed the world around me, circumstances, other people, but now, I feel the weight of personal responsibility. Every decision I made led me here, and every choice I make next will shape where I go. Sometimes, I wonder what life could have been like if I had chosen differently. But I don't stay in regret for long, because what matters most is the choice I make. Right now, I no longer live for what others expect. I choose the life I truly want. And yes, some choices bring failure, others success, but every one of them helps me grow. At 50, I value my freedom to choose. I see my power to steer my own life. And I've learned using that freedom well is the key to a happy future. 10. Instead of regrets, I focus on what I can do from now on. By the time you turn 50, regrets start to show up. I should have tried harder. I should have taken more chances. I should have spent more time with the right people. Those thoughts come quietly, sometimes all at once. But I've learned something. Regret should never control my present or my future. I stop looking back, and I start focusing on what I can do now. I remind myself, the power to shape my life is still in my hands. I can't change the past, but I can still change what's ahead of me. So now, I choose to begin, even with small steps. I learn a new hobby. I take better care of my health. I try to reconnect with people I care about. At 50, I've realized this. It's not about staying stuck in what could have been. It's about having the courage to move forward and doing something now that makes tomorrow better. 50 is a time for new beginnings. At 50, it can feel like you're losing so much. But in truth, this is when you finally have the wisdom and experience to find your real path. When we were younger, we cared too much about what others thought, but now, we begin to be honest with ourselves. We start to imagine the life we truly want. Regret is a story from the past. What matters now is how we choose to fill the time we still have. Change might scare us. The feeling of being alone might linger. But accepting those feelings and growing through them, that's the gift of turning 50. It's time to live for me, to walk the road I choose, to search for freedom and peace on my own terms. 50 is not the end. It's a new beginning, and maybe the most meaningful chapter of all. Always cheering for you. Thank you for watching.